Welcome everybody to the ASN Program Familiarization, formerly known as Group Advising. This is for any prospective students who wish to be eligible for the Associate of Science in Nursing pool. This is going to be for the fall of 27 cohort. Fall of 2026 has already been selected. The purpose of this video is to provide you with the information about our competitive admissions process, to notify you of important deadlines and forms that must be submitted during your admissions process, and to let you know who to contact for what. The ASN faculty consists of Ms. Lauren Ellsbury. She is the nursing program administrator, and she's also an instructor. Myself, I'm Heather Akers. I am also an instructor here. And then we have Miss Alexandra Hill and Miss Amanda Miller, who also are instructors. So as of right now, the four of us are your ASN program instructors. We're also your advisors, so we are here to help you along the process. There's some things that we can help you with before you get into the program, but you're primarily going to talk to Miss Jacobs before you get into the program. So we're going to get to that next. Who do I contact? Miss Brittany Jacobs is our nursing program assistant. She does a wonderful job coordinating all of the admissions and pre-occupational courses and HESI and all of those things. So she'll answer any entry-based questions. She'll help you with recommendations for pre-occupational classes and the competitive admissions process. She's your contact about the HESI entrance exam. When the testing periods are, registering for the HESI, she coordinates all of those each semester. And then her email's listed for you there. It's bjacobs@gntc.edu. And then your nursing faculty advisors are the four of us. We can also answer program-specific questions for you. We can advise you regarding your registration and help you with that. And the specific advisor you are assigned to is determined by the first letter of your last name. So we recently updated this, and it should also be reflected on the website soon. However, you can reach out to any of the instructors because we all do the same thing, and we're all happy to help you. But you can find who your specific advisor is going to be by the first letter of your last name. And these are on our website as well. Most of these things that we're going to talk about today are available on the website. So today we're going to walk through the process from college admission to filling out your health packet once you're accepted into the program. So we're going to break that process down step by step. The first process is going to be registering for admission to the college, contacting, advising if you have any issues with registration assistance, and filling out your, completing those pre-occupational courses, attending a nursing program familiarization, which you're doing now, and then working to complete those pre-occupational courses. So a little bit of information about the program, just some basics. The occupational curriculum, which is once you're accepted into the program, it's a 2-year program. We do 4 consecutive semesters. So we start in the fall, for example, for the upcoming cohort, we start in the fall. Students will go fall semester, spring semester, summer semester. Final semester will be the next fall. So you'll start in August, go 4 consecutive semesters, and then graduate in December of the following year. The Associate of Science in Nursing program is only offered on the Walker County campus in Rock Spring. We accept between 60 and 70 students each fall. It kind of depends, but that's kind of around how many students that we accept. And there is a competitive admissions process, so you are going to be competing with other students in the admissions pool, and we'll talk about that more as well. So the competitive admissions process is where you're essentially competing for placement in the program based on your score. We are going to go over that score, how that score is derived here shortly. It's based on your pre-occupational coursework, the scores on your entrance exam, and then there are a few other points that you can get for healthcare licensure and taking courses at GNTC. So we accept new students based on this competitive admissions score from the pool. So students will often ask, what's the score that I need to have to get in? And the truth of the matter is we can't tell you, because every year you're competing against the students in that pool, and that is going to change from year to year. So I just tell students, try to make all A's in your gen ed courses, study really hard for your HESI and do well, but we can't give you a set number of if you score this amount, you're guaranteed to get in, because it does change every year. To be eligible for the entrance pool, you need to finish all of your pre-occupational courses with a grade of C or higher. You need to have a 3.0 GPA for those pre-occupational courses. So you can't make straight C's on your pre-occupational courses and get accepted to the program. You got to have a 3.0. And we only look at those 8 pre-occupational courses. We don't look at underwater basket weaving and table tennis. We just look at the 8 courses when we're looking at your GPA. So it's not your institutional GPA. Okay. Attend a program familiarization meeting, which you're doing now. Submit an eligibility request form and complete your entrance exam with recommended scores. So that's kind of the progression for completing the admissions process. There are 8 pre-occupational classes that are listed here. We only calculate your GPA for program entrance based on these classes. And also at this time, the math and biology classes must have been taken within 5 years of your program acceptance. So if you're trying to get into the program in 2027, you have to have taken your biologies and the math. If anything is prior to 2022, those would be expired. You would have to retake them. So the pre-occupational courses include Anatomy and Physiology 1 and the associated lab, A&P 2 and the lab, Microbiology, the lab, and then you also need Introduction to Psychology, Human Development, College Algebra, English Composition and Rhetoric, and one of the following humanities, which are most commonly Intro to Humanities, Music Appreciation, or American Lit. They may accept other courses. That's something that you would need to talk to the registrar about. But these are the most common 3 humanities electives that are taken. Okay, so you're working on your pre-occupational coursework. At what point do you submit the eligibility request form? So this form should be submitted during your last semester of your pre-occupational courses. So you're taking your last set of courses. Anytime during that semester, you can submit your online eligibility form, which is essentially you applying to the program, telling us that, hey, once these courses grades post for the semester, I'm going to be eligible to sit for the HESI. It can be found on our GNTC website. Look under resources and forms, and there's the nursing eligibility form there. It is valid for the upcoming cohort that you are applying for. So if you do not get accepted, if you submit your eligibility form for fall of 2027 and you don't get accepted, you must submit a new eligibility form for each admission cycle, so for each year. The deadline to submit this form is a hard deadline, and it must be submitted by the last day of the spring semester prior to your desired fall entry. So if classes usually end around the first week of May in the spring, so if you wait until the middle of May or the beginning of June to submit your eligibility form, you will not be able to go into that admissions pool. So make sure that when you start your last semester of prerequisites, go ahead and fill out that online eligibility form. And you can see the academic calendar for specifically what the last date of the semester is. You can go to our GNTC website, go to resources, and schedules and calendars is where you can find that. That is a hard date as well. So you've completed all of your prerequisites. You've submitted your online eligibility form in that last semester of those prerequisites. Now you're going to be taking the HESI exam, which is the HESI A2. It's required for all prospective ASN students. We do not accept the T's. We use HESI, which is through Elsevier. Your pre-occupational courses must be completed prior to taking the exam. The 5 sections that we look at for the HESI A2 are reading, grammar, math, and A&P. So if you think about what your prerequisites are, it's grammar, math, A&P. There's also a critical thinking section that we look at as well. So we look at those 5 sections of the HESI A2. We recommend that you shoot for a 75% for each content section, and then the critical thinking, it's scored differently. Instead of a percent, it's scored as a straight number out of 1,000. So we recommend a 750. So why do we say recommend? We used to, a few years back, have the requirement that you had to make a 75 or greater. So a student could have passed their prerequisites with straight A's, made 100% on every section of the HESI, and then they just have a one-off day and they make a 74. That used to would kick them out of the program. However, we do not, it's not such a hard, you have to have this score on the HESI. We believe in looking at your performance in your preoccupational courses in the HESI. Like we look at our patients holistically, we look at the whole thing. So we recommend a 75% and a 750. Once your preoccupational courses are completed, that's when you'll set for the HESI. It'll be taken on campus, either on the Floyd or Walker County campuses. And again, Ms. Jacobs is the one who, based on those eligibility forms that she receives, she's the one who schedules the HESI. You are allowed to take it up to 2 attempts per academic year, so you could potentially set for it in the fall and the spring. We do offer one in the summer as well. We will take, Ms. Jacobs will take the highest scores from each section across both valid attempts. So let's say that you take it and you think that you can do better, you can retake it a second time. It won't be that semester, it would be the next semester. And she will take your scores from both attempts and whichever one is higher. So you can't hurt yourself, by retaking the HESI. However, it's not required that you take it twice. People ask about resources for studying. Like I said, it's your A&P 1, your A&P 2, your micro, and your English and math. So if you do well in your prerequisites, that should prepare you. However, there are other HESI A2 review books. There's apps. You can use SAT and ACT prep books. There's all kinds of, for critical thinking, logic puzzles, crosswords. You don't have to buy a specific HESI A2 study book. You can, but you don't have to. Here are a couple of resources that are issued by HESI. We do recommend the study resources through Elsevier, who is it's the company who makes the HESI exam. There are others out there, but we don't guarantee nor endorse them. So if you decide to purchase a book to study, that's fine. We recommend those through Elsevier officially, but you don't have to purchase anything. Students will say, okay, I've done all my prerequisites and I've taken my HESI and now I'm just sitting here waiting. What can I do? Well, at that point, everything that's going to go into your points calculation has already been determined. However, you will get an exam remediation from Elsevier based on your individual test scores. And so we highly recommend that you remediate after your first attempt. You can go to the website, and I think that they'll email it to you as well. And so this is going to give you a report based on your areas of strengths and weaknesses. And so we highly recommend that you do that remediation, because we use Elsevier as our final exam as well, and you will have to remediate in the same format. So that's a good way for you to get familiar with the remediation and to strengthen those areas that you may have that are weak. So we're going to take your preoccupational classes, your HESI entrance exam scores. There may be a few bonus points given. Ms. Jacobs is going to add them all up based on points and take the top however many candidates. So that's how we do the competitive admissions. Here's an example, and you feel free to pause and screenshot this if you want to. This is just an example of how Ms. Jacobs figures up the scores. So you've got your preoccupational coursework over here. So here you'll see, it looks like more than 8 courses because we do look at each lab as 1 credit hour separately. So if you made an A, you would give yourself 4 points. If you made a B, you would give yourself 3 points. And if you made a C, you would give yourself 2 points, and you just plug them in here. So if you make a 4 in an AMP1, you would do 4 times 3, you would get 12 points. And you do that all the way down the line for all of your coursework. And then as far as the HESI scores, we take what you made on the reading, the grammar, the math, and the AMP, and we plug those percents in here. We highly recommend 75%. And then we also take the critical thinking. So this is the only one that does not count towards points. You have to have a 750. So the critical thinking, if you score below a 750, that's the only hard we look at that, and you can't make below. I know it says recommended, but it's required that you make a 750 on the critical thinking. And then there's some bonus points that you can earn as well. If you up to 20, if you completed your prerequisites at GNTC, you get 2 points for each course. If you have a healthcare degree, a healthcare diploma, or a healthcare certificate with an active state licensure, you can get 4, 3, or 2 points depending on that degree. And that information you need to give to Ms. Jacobs as well. Make sure that she knows that, because she can't give you points. She doesn't just look up every single student who applies to see if you have an active licensure. You have to give that information to her. So make sure you include that. And the eligibility form asks those questions, so you'll be prompted to answer that. And then this is just an example of the points calculation. And so this particular student has a 3.593 GPA. They made a 97 points for their courses, a 360 for the HESI. Say that they took their prerequisites at GNTC, and they have a LPN. And then we add all those up. So this student will get 476 points. Now, I just picked random numbers. This does not mean if you score less than 476 points, you will not get in. Or if you score at or above 476, that you will get in. This is just an example. This is not me recommending what score you make, okay? Okay, so if you are selected for the cohort, which is done based on points, Ms. Jacobs will send you an acceptance letter via email. So I highly recommend checking your student email at least once a week, because there are going to be some time-sensitive things that you need to do, or you'll forfeit your spot. So remember, if you're not accepted, you need to submit a new eligibility form for each subsequent admission cycle. And if you choose to retake any of your preoccupational courses or take your HESI again, you do need to let Ms. Jacobs know, so that she can make sure that she goes in and she looks at your preoccupational courses, or that she knows you've retaken the HESI. Let her know if you've done any of that to increase your scores, to make sure she's getting the most accurate information. So once the cohort is chosen, you'll receive an email with your acceptance results. If you are accepted, there are additional steps you need to complete to retain your acceptance, okay? You're going to receive a letter of intent to enroll with your acceptance letter. That is a requirement that must be completed and returned to her to reserve your space. I think she usually gives like a 1 or 2 week period for you to return that, and she will give you this intent to enroll must be submitted by this date. If you submit it the day after, you forfeit your spot. So make sure you do these things timely. So once I take the HESI, I'm going to check my email every day, if it were me, because you don't want to miss that. Because if you don't submit your intent to enroll by the date she has set, you will forfeit your slot, okay? Once accepted and you've completed your intent to enroll, Ms. Jacobs is then going to send out information regarding a clinical orientation. This is where you're going to get information about how to create your urine drug screen, your criminal background check. You've got to get liability insurance, BLS certification, all of those things related to your clinical packet. So she will send an email out about that. And we've been doing an on-campus clinical orientation, because you only have about, I would say, 6 weeks or so between getting accepted to starting the program. And once the program starts, buddy, we start. So we want to give you guys the opportunity to complete your health packet before clinical and class even starts. Some other information: if you are in the program and you're unsuccessful, you take 2 courses per semester. If you're unsuccessful in one or both, you are allowed 2 attempts in the program. So you can apply for readmission within 1 year. Keep a close eye on your GNTC student account. Any information about next steps and things like that are going to come from your student email. You are also going to need to use your student email to respond to either your admissions or your advisor, so me or any of the other faculty, and Ms. Jacobs. We cannot respond to your Yahoo or your Gmail account. So if you're going to send us any emails from this point on, make sure it's through your GNTC student email. Some important deadlines and documents that you want to make sure you're aware of are going to be that eligibility form. Last day of spring semester prior to the fall entry is when you're going to want to submit that, not the day after, the last day of spring semester or before. I'm going to do it the first day of class for that semester to make sure that I don't forget. Submit your eligibility. Let's see. If you submit your eligibility in the fall, you'll test in February. If you submit it during the spring, you'll test in June. And if you submit it in summer, you will test in October. So those are the rough estimates of the once a semester when the HESI is offered. And if that changes, you'll hear from Ms. Jacobs about that. But as of right now, we do offer it once a semester. And we've already talked about all of these. Your eligibility form, which is electronic, the HESI information, which is sent by Ms. Jacobs, the acceptance letter, which is generally sent out around mid-June, the letter of intent to enroll, don't forget that or you forfeit your spot, and then Ms. Jacobs will give you health packet information at orientation, and we'll talk about all of those things. So go ahead and start getting your vaccinations and all that together, specifically if you're out of state or if you weren't born in the U.S. or whatever, because you have to have all of those immunizations that the clinical facilities require, and other things as well. So go ahead and start looking into getting those records so that you can submit those. So that is the program familiarization. I hope this was helpful to you. Again, your faculty and Ms. Jacobs are here if you have any questions. Do be aware that the nursing faculty are faculty, and we do have classes during the summer. So year-round we're teaching. We may not always be in our office. We may be in the lab. We may be in lecture. We may be at clinical. So we do ask that you give us a couple days to get back with you. But we're glad that you're looking into the nursing program, and we wish you guys the best of luck. Make sure that you sign in for this because this is a requirement, one of those entrance requirements. So follow this QR code, scan it with your phone, sign in with your GNT student email, and Ms. Jacobs will have a record of your attendance. And remember, any other correspondences that you send to us, make sure you're using your student email. All right, thank you guys, and we wish all of you the best of luck.